Full lights, start sound, camera, action.
BabuKishan's Spotlight.
Well, hi, my name is Scott Hamilton, and I'm the MLA for Delta North for the province of British Columbia. Well, I was born in New Westminster, British Columbia. My mother and father, of course, raised me pretty much in this community. I have two older brothers, Ken and Terry, who are both married and live out of town. I'm married. My wife Kristen and I have lived in North Delta in this same constituency that I represent for the last 29 years now. And we've raised our two daughters, Paige and Lauren, here. My oldest daughter, Paige, is living in Kelowna now and finishing her final degree in business at the University of British Columbia, Okanagan. And my younger daughter, Lauren, works for Polygon Homes in our community. Well, my education is quite varied. After graduating from high school, I studied computer science, and I learned a number of programming languages, COBOL, Pascal being some of them. That's long before the days of desktop computers as we know them now. I grew up in and my career was based in the computer mainframe environment, IBM 4381s. You know, I go back to the days of punch cards and tape storage, and advanced back beyond that. Learned most of what I did after I retired from designing computer networks and managing a group of people that were responsible for the provincial learning network in the province of British Columbia. I decided to move on and take up politics as a bit of a career. I did spend 12 years, actually prior to that 12 years, I was a Parks Commissioner here in Delta, and I was asked then to run for City Council. City Council wound up being a terrific experience for me. I spent 12 years on Delta City Council prior to being elected to the provincial level.
Full lights, start sound, camera, action.
BabuKishan's Spotlight.
You know, I really can't say enough about the amount of time I spent in local government and in local politics as a city councillor. I gained a vast amount of experience, and to a certain extent, it's a level of government that I'm truly going to miss. I really quite enjoyed the opportunities that we had to focus on, you know, what's important to the community, our recreation centers, our playing fields. You know, really local government is where the rubber hits the road. It's you know, you affect people's everyday life, and it's important that you know, people live in a community that inspires them. I think Delta has been a community that's provided me an awful lot in terms of the ability to raise my family, and it's been a terrific place for my kids to grow up and to go to school. And you know, I felt to a certain extent it was important for me to pay back a little bit. You know, I always spent time when my girls were young as the dad on the soccer pitch and on the baseball field, the softball field, and you know, as a volunteer in those capacities, you know, I really was encouraged when I was first asked to become a Parks and Recreation Commissioner. Spending that few years being involved in some of the projects that we had in our community really was very, very inspiring, and I was blown right over when I was asked to become a city councillor. I ran for city council back in 2002 more on a lark. I never even expected to get elected, and lo and behold, I wake up the next morning after the election, and it's like having a tiger by the tail. You wonder, oh my goodness, what are you going to do now? And people have put their trust in you, and you have to deliver. So it's very humbling, but again, it's very rewarding. And I had a great 12 years on Delta City Council. I can't say enough for the people that I served with over the years. In fact, one of my inspirations on council was a councillor by the name of George Hawksworth, and George passed away a few years ago while serving on city council, and I learned a lot from him. I sat beside him at the council table, and I would listen intently to his sage advice, and the way he would frame his discussions and his debates was really, it was worth paying a lot of attention to him, because he had a lot of good things to say. And of course, the current council with Mayor Jackson and the rest have really brought this community a long way, particularly in my riding of Delta North. When I first moved here in 1986, we were lacking in a lot of services and facilities, and we had that concern, and many of those problems have been addressed over the years. Our community has developed, and it's grown quite considerably well, as far as I'm concerned. Well-managed growth is important in any community, because it's something that people really feel it's important that their voices be heard as you go forward with development proposals, and your community can't change too much and too drastically at any one given time. It's important to listen to what people have to say, and so that a community evolves in what their vision, in consideration of their vision. And I think we've done an excellent job to date of doing that, and now becoming the MLA for this community is just one next step to try to help at a different level of government. And as far as the future for me is concerned, my goodness, I just want to get out of politics alive. I think it's very, very demanding, but and I spend an awful lot of time on the road away from my family, but at the same time, it's rewarding, and I do look forward to getting back into my constituency. It's the type of work that I enjoy the most. I've traveled quite considerably around the province with the Provincial Finance Committee. I sit on other committees, including the Independent Investigations Office, my goodness, Aboriginal Affairs, as well as, of course, the legislative responsibilities when the legislature is sitting in Victoria. So it does take me away from home quite a bit, but at the same time, I deal again at a different level of government with some incredible people, and they make my time away from home a little more bearable, in the sense that we're a great team. We have a terrific leader, and I think going forward we're going to hopefully inspire another generation of young politicians. I have a young intern who's in grade 11 who comes into my office on a semi-regular basis to do some on-the-job learning. He's very interested in politics. As a matter of fact, he's coming to Victoria at the end of this month to participate in the Youth Parliament, and that's going to take him a long way, and hopefully get him to understand how politics works at the provincial level, and maybe, just maybe, it'll inspire him to take up a career in politics. It's different. It's again, it's very demanding, but at the same time, it can be very rewarding. And going back to those rewards takes me back to working into my constituency, because that's truly where I believe my roots are. It's a place where I enjoy being the most. Victoria is a lot of work. It's a different kind of work, but when people need your help, and businesses need your help in your community, you're here in person to try to do your best on their behalf, and that's important to me. Well, I didn't really choose a political career. I never grew up thinking that someday I wanted to be an MLA or a city councillor or a mayor or anything of the sort. And in a more roundabout way, politics chose me. It was a progressional progressional type of thing, in the sense that again, I was just an average citizen of the community that had some issues at the time, but also liked to contribute wherever I could. And as I became more and more involved, I guess more and more people noticed that possibly I had the potential to serve my community in a different capacity. And one thing led to another. I was asked by by the mayor to become a parks commissioner after she was elected mayor in 1999. And then a few years later, in the next local election, I was asked if I'd be interested in being a city councilor. And then one day in 2012, a number of years after that, my phone rings and it's the premier, and who was interested in me becoming an MLA for my community. So, you know, it's something that I truly enjoy doing. And I'm very, very glad that I got involved with. But it's if you had asked me, you know, if you'd said to me 15 years ago, 20 years ago that I'd be doing this for a living, I would have said you were crazy. Well, you probably heard it said before that Canada is a land of opportunities, and I truly believe that. It is a country that. And British Columbia, as the province, has given me all the opportunity in the world, and I've never tried to take that for granted. I think quite often people can become very, very complacent with all the wonderful things that are around us, and we tend to forget that the vast majority of people live in this world in far worse standards than what we do. And it's important to keep that in perspective, especially at this time of year. And you know, I look forward, and I always embrace the opportunity to immerse myself in the multicultural aspects of our community. Everything from Diwali and to Christmas to Easter to all the other celebrations. I walk on the street. I don't see a melting pot of people. I see a mosaic. I see a tapestry of different cultures that really help bind us as a community and make us who we are. So, you know, I can't impress enough the importance of trying to give back to your community at whatever level you can, but at the same time, never, always reflect on what the community has given you, and use that as your inspiration to give back. For new people coming to this country, it's again a place of fabulous opportunity, and I would hope that they would take advantage of all of the things that are made available to you in terms of what the community has to offer. And it's very important going forward that we keep that in mind. Again, especially this time of year for young people. Growing up, speaking about politics in general, I would truly like to see better engagement at the political level, more people taking an interest, people getting out and exercising their franchise, getting out and voting. That it's really one of the fundamental rights that so many people have laid their lives down for, and we can't take that for granted either. And we have to remember that had it not been for many of those people who came before us and literally laid down their lives, we wouldn't have the liberties that we have. We wouldn't have the freedoms that we have. We wouldn't have the rights. So it's very important to go out and exercise your vote and make absolutely certain that you can at least sit back and say that you had a say in the matter. You were able to be part of a process that so many people have defended over the years.
India. Well, there's more dust, more sun, more mosquitoes, more cars.
Anything positive?
Oh, mangoes. Oh, you won't believe the mangoes.